All right, you can count us down?
You're on.
Hi, I'm Max, and I'm with Torie Rose from Kalamazoo County Dispatch. I'll let her introduce herself.
I'm Torie Rose. I'm from Kalamazoo County Consolidated Dispatch Authority. I've been here for 8 years in December.
And she is not doing this against her will, despite what it might seem.
Maybe a little bit against my will.
And so what I wanted to do here is this is part of our series. We're just doing conversations with some of our early customers. And so, Torie, how did you guys first really come across us? It was all the way back in APCO, right?
Yep. So one of our employees actually went to APCO and then came back to us and asked us to take a look at Aurelian because he thought that it would be a really good thing for us to implement.
Yeah, and I remember so this is and by far at that time was our fastest timeline, where it was August 7th, I think we talked. And then by September 15th, we were kicking off.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact timeline. I mean, I know we went live with it in December, but yeah, you're probably about right. That's about when APCO was.
And so why did you guys, I guess, why was this compelling and why did it move so quickly?
I mean, we have been, since we consolidated in 2018, we've been trying to find a way to reduce our call volume, our non-emergency call volume, and just to help our staffing so that our staff could spend more time on their 911 calls. And this was the perfect solution.
Yeah, and so you guys consolidated back in 2017. So
No,
it'd been
2018.
2018. Okay,
2018.
2018. So it'd been a little bit of a while. You guys have been kind of thinking about this at least, right?
Oh yeah, from the start. Because when we consolidated, all the police agencies always had all their dispatch calls. Like anybody that needed anything would be transferred to dispatch, and that kind of continued because when we took it over, all those phone numbers were still in place, so all of that still continued to come into us.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I think you're taking give or take 130,000 admin calls at that point.
Yeah, I think it's right around that.
Yeah, and so you're taking all these admin calls, kind of, in your words, distracting from the core, which I would say is 911 plus radio. And so the idea was basically you'd bring on Aurelian and then hopefully reduce some of that call load, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And how has that worked? I guess so we went live in December. It's now July. It's been 6-7 months.
I think it has been amazing. Our staff seem to really like it. I don't know that I've ever been a part of anything where that's a big change for staff, and they have literally, the minute we turned it on and then we turned it off when we were doing testing, they were like, can we turn it back on again? And I've never had that before.
And I think that was I remember being really nervous because we were doing our first test run with a supervisor who you did not think was going to like it. And you were like, if this supervisor likes it, everyone's going to like it.
Yeah, yep. She was a little older school, so yep, that's exactly right.
And I remember when we were doing this implementation, my entire goal was we have to make sure that this one person loves it. And I was so nervous that she was going to hate absolutely anything we did. And then that first call went in and she was like, oh, this is easy. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yep. Yeah, and I think a big selling point too was we have obviously some frequent flyer callers, and those people will call, and Aurelian handles those calls. They talk for 10 minutes to Ava and not our dispatch staff, and they love that.
I think we lucked in, or maybe didn't luck in, to that was one of the first calls.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was a 14-minute long call. Mm-hmm. I remember watching as it was happening and thinking, oh God, something's broken.
Yep.
I was a call shouldn't last this long. And then that call comes in, it created an action item, somebody reviewed it, it's going to go be a dispatchable event, but at the end of the call, I think she said, she was actually, never mind.
Yep. And she has called in several times since then, and she just talks to Ava, and then she never ends up doing anything.
Yeah. I always thought that was something, because you guys, I think, were one of the first that had a lot of known frequent flyers, mm-hmm. super utilizers, that we were kind of worried about it. I don't think we really understood how they would interact with it.
Yeah, and actually, I think that they interact really well with it. Some of them just call just to talk to people, and Ava's a perfect person for them to talk to.
And then, so, we went live in December, and then I remember we did a little bit of a PR campaign in January, right? January, February.
Yep, Jeff did, I believe, an interview, an online or an on-camera interview in regards to it.
Yeah, and then in general, how has it been from the public perception piece?
I mean, you're always going to get some pushback from the public when it first gets rolled out, but we really haven't had any pushback or any complaints since.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other than initially it being rolled out to the news media and that coming into the light, I guess, we really haven't had any.
It's good to hear, yeah. And then someone was telling me about, there's been, the occasional, positive review to a supervisor as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've definitely had some people who've called in and been like, oh, this is great. Ava's fabulous. So, yeah, we've had some good. as long as they're willing to utilize Ava and
Yeah.
actually talk to her, it works really well. There are some people that are just resistant to change, and that you're always going to have that. And so I think with that, there's not a lot you're going to be able to do with those people. But otherwise, as long as they're okay with technology and change,
Yeah.
it works really well.
That makes sense. Yeah, I feel like for us, like at the end of the day, like our customers, in many ways, the caller. It's not necessarily like you guys. If that makes sense. And so like for us, it's like if they don't want to use it, like sometimes we just want to get them through, right?
Yep.
Like we don't want to add that frustration. But for the ones that do want to use it, it's about like how can we provide them the best, fastest experience. And so one of the caller groups, I think you guys were the first to you pioneered this for us, was the tow truck companies.
Yep.
And so I'd love for you to tell that story. Yeah.
So we have a lot of people, or a lot of the tow companies that call in for abandoned vehicles, and right now they have to call in, they have to check to see if it's stolen. You know, a dispatcher has to talk to them, or a call taker has to talk to them, and then it's a whole process. Where this way we automated everything. You guys created an online form. We gave that to the tow companies. They basically submit that online form, and they can do it from anywhere, and it populates into our dashboard. The supervisors can go ahead and handle that, whatever, or not the supervisors, the call takers can handle it whenever they want.
Yeah.
And then we push it back, and it gives them a response on whether or not they can tow the vehicle. So it's worked really well. And we do it for releases too, because there's really no reason for them to call us for releases. We can do that at any point in time.
Yeah.
And it also gives tracking for both us and them, which we really didn't have before. So
Yeah, I remember I like this a lot because it was one of those things where when we went live, we started realizing like there's a lot of calls that are coming in from the tow truck companies. And so we basically sat down with Mr. McDonald, right? And one of the tow truck company owners was like, hey, like, this is what we're thinking about this. This is the problem dispatch is facing. This is the problem you're facing. Like, how can we kind of come to a resolution here? And then it was a really productive conversation because we kind of figured out like what was the best way that we could possibly handle the workload that the tow truck companies are creating for dispatch, and also help the tow truck companies and obviously keep within the legal requirement, right? Because you have to, is it 20 minutes or is it before it's towed? I think
it's before it's towed.
Yeah, so but making sure that before it's towed, we were already checking to make sure that it's not stolen. And that was like a fun process for us because now it's something that we use with a bunch of other customers. And it like all stemmed from like, hey, like we had this problem, let's sit down and talk to it. Let's bring in the right parties and let's hopefully build a solution.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I think a lot of that is really like your work. Like that was like, you were the one that pushed this, you're the one that like solved the problem and helped us like iterate a solution. So I appreciate that. It's fun because like now as we've done more and more of these, every piece of the actual puzzle, I'm like, oh, that was Torie, that was Derek. Like these are the people that are building the pieces.
Sure.
And then the other piece that I wanted to talk about as well was officer messages.
Yes.
So before you guys were doing officer messages in CAD.
Yep.
And,
Regardless of whether the officer was on duty or not on duty, the dispatcher would take the message and then send it in CAD. And once the officer logged back onto their mobile, it would automatically populate. But that's not always helpful. If the officer's on off duty for 7 days or however long, then they're not going to get that message. So we came up with basically an email address for every single department that they check on a regular basis. They have somebody that's responsible for that. And we figure out, or I guess validate that the officer, it works for that department, and then we forward the message onto, through the dashboard, forward it onto that department, and then they distribute it to their officers.
Yeah, basically. So instead of like having the officer messages sit in CAD, where like I think in one case we had somebody who was off for like 2 weeks, and that person was calling every single day trying to get this officer to call them back, who just wasn't working, was never going to call them back. So instead now they talk to Ava or Aurelian, and then we collect that information, and then basically through our dashboard send that email to the actual appropriate group.
Yep.
And so part of the thing I thought was interesting with this was like, it gave us the ability to start rethinking some of these workflows of like, what is actually the ideal way to do this? Because we thought about just having it send in CAD, but then I think we realized we're like, they're not responding anyways.
No.
And so I think like those are like the two pieces. Like when I think of Kalamazoo, I think those are the two pieces of the platform that you guys basically invented, which is always exciting to me because I think you were maybe our 4th or 5th go live.
I don't even know.
That probably
We were only the second in Michigan. I know that.
Yeah, that's true. But then so yeah, we did that. We went live in December, give or take. You know, we're 7 months in. What would be to anyone else thinking about buying Aurelian or working with us? What would you kind of tell them?
Well, you already know I'm a fan, obviously. Like, I mean,
we should do some of these without fans.
Clearly, I am a fan. I'm doing the video. I'm doing the testimonial. But I definitely think it helps our staff a ton, and that's the whole goal. I mean, as as administration, you know, you're here to make your staff's jobs easier, and I think that that's exactly what this does. So I mean, I think that if anybody is looking to automate some of their non-emergency calls, this is probably by far the best solution that I have seen. I think that just based on my conversations with you, you've done your homework. You know, you knew a lot about what it took to, like what different processes for each different call. There was a lot of obviously research that you've done, and you're probably the most knowledgeable person that I have met outside of 911 that knows that. So that was pretty impressive for me, and that was part of the reason why I jumped on board as quickly.
Well, flattering me. Well, on the other end of this, probably the more important end, like what could we be doing better? Like what is what is your number one complaint?
I don't have any complaints.
You have to have one.
I don't really. I'm sorry, I don't. I mean, every time we have any sort of issue or anything, like if I contact anybody, they're on it. Like I usually get a response within, I mean, I would like to say, depending upon the time of day, I guess, I usually get a response within 2 to 3 hours from somebody that says, hey, oh, okay, we looked into that, we'll fix it. And usually within 24 hours, it's fixed if it's something that's really easy, or if it's something that is a bigger change, you know, then it's usually, I think you guys do updates on Tuesday, so, you know, maybe a week later. So I don't really, at this point, have any. I mean, I think every time we've brought something to your attention, it's been fixed and or has been like, oh, okay, we'll look into that. And yeah, we can do that. And it's something that's coming down the line. So I don't have any complaints. Sorry.
Well, I was hoping you'd have something.
I don't really.
Well, maybe I don't know if that's good or bad. I feel like maybe your standards just aren't high enough for your vendors. Maybe you need to be cracking down on everyone more. Well, yeah, I appreciate you taking the time and kind of just chatting about it. It's nice to be back in Kalamazoo. It feels like a victory tour in some ways because last time I was here, we were implementing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks. Good, Peter?
Done.
How was it?
Thank you.
Sweating. No, I'm just kidding. It was fine.